now I look like a real poker player. I am ready for the final table. So you may notice that I'm wearing a bit of a disguise. It's for professional reasons. Perhaps I should speak in accent so it's not so obvious who I am. Recently at Thunder Valley Casino outside of Sacramento, California, I sat down to play 1-3 no limit hold'em for a few minutes while waiting for the O8 game. I'm on the button with Jack 8 of clubs. Just about everybody at the table limps, and I put in a raise to $20. There are 4 callers, and the flop comes King 9-6 with 2 clubs, giving me a flush draw. I continuation bet to 65, and it folds around with 1 caller in middle position. The turn comes 5 of hearts, my opponent checks, and I decide to check back, not wanting to commit the rest of my chips. I'm about 100 behind when I think my opponent could easily have flopped a pair that he's not going to fold. The river comes the 10 of spades, my opponent checks, and here I'm faced with a decision if I'm going to jam it in and hopefully get my opponent to fold, or if my opponent has a pair that he's just not folding. I feel like this table is pretty loose, and in my experience recently playing 1-2 and 1-3 no limit hold'em, I've just been called down with everything. So I decided that to shove my last $100 would have been really just flipping. So I didn't really feel like flipping with $100, and I checked back. My opponent turned over Queen 5 of clubs. He was also looking for the flush, but managed to hit a pair of 5s on the turn. He looked ecstatic that he won. So I think I could have pushed him out of the hand here if I'd shoved here on the river, but it was just pretty risky. I actually would have preferred a shove on the turn, which I think he would have snap called with the flush draw and the pair. I leave the 1-3 game and move over to the 4-8 Omaha high-low game with a half kill. I am by far the youngest person at the table. A lot of hands I played straightforward, but I'd like to share a couple with you that were kind of funky. And this game is 4-card Omaha 8, but the program I'm using will only let me input 2 whole cards. If you all know of a good hand replay program for Omaha, please let me know. In this hand, it's a kill pot, so just about everybody limps in for $6, which is the price of the kill. I am in the small blind and have to call $4 to see the flop. So I go ahead and call $4. I have a 6 deuce suited and like an ace 9, something like that kind of hand. The flop comes Queen 9-3 all clubs, and I imagine that surely there's a higher flush out there, so I check, not wanting to inflate the pot out of position. It checks around, and another club comes on the turn, and I think that I might be good with my clubs, seeing as there's already 4 clubs on the board. So I go ahead and bet. I bet 12, and it folds around, and 1 person calls, a lady who just sat down, who's kind of new at the table. The river, pretty good river for us. It's the king of clubs, so there's 5 clubs on the board, and I of course am playing the 2 clubs in my hand. I also had a low draw on the turn, but no low came in. And I decided to keep betting, hoping that my opponent is happy to call it off with a worse hand and hopefully doesn't have higher clubs. My opponent calls, I turn over my hand, and she mucks, claiming that she hit her straight on the river and that was a terrible card for her. Nice to drag that pot having flopped a flush, a tiny flush, out of position. I think it's pretty rare that you see a 5-carded flush board, whatever you call it. In this next Omaha 8 hand, I'm in the small blind again. There's a bunch of limpers, and I put in $2 to make the call and see the flop. I have pocket 9s and 2 other hole cards that I honestly don't remember what they were. But I see the flop for cheap. The flop is 10-9-10, so I flop the second nuts here. with the 9s full of 10s. So I'm gonna put the pressure on and keep betting. I lead out for $4. There are 3 callers. The turn brings the 8 of diamonds. Here I'm hoping that somebody hit a flush that they're intent to keep betting with, but hopefully not a straight flush. I bet 2 players call and then are off to a river, which is 3 of hearts. I bet again, 2 players behind me call. I'm hoping, of course, that they don't have a better full house or a straight flush, but they turn over their hands and they both had bigger full houses. The guy who won with the 10-8 said he was afraid I had the straight flush. So I think I'm pretty lucky that I didn't get raised here, because I would have had a hard time folding for that price. I also think it was good that I stayed aggressive from the small blind against these 2 more passive players. Well, one of them was pretty tight, but she was playing pretty passively in this hand. But because of my aggression, I think they were afraid to raise. So that may have saved me some money. This hand just goes to show how quickly things change in Omaha. Andre and I have some great tips for you all based on our experiences in Vegas. So I hope you enjoy these Vegas survival tips. First off, before you even leave for Vegas, separate your bankrolls. This means have a separate bankroll for every different spending activity you have. For example, Andre really likes to sports bet, and he also plays a lot of poker. So he's going to have a separate bankroll for sports betting and a separate bankroll for poker. Definitely make sure you have a stash for fun money too. You don't want to dip into your poker money to go have a nice dinner or buy a pair of shoes you like. Next, don't go straight to the casino. When you arrive, if you're like me, you'll probably be a little bit tired or trying to adjust to the desert heat. So go straight to your hotel or Airbnb or wherever you're staying. Don't be that person sitting at the pit games with their suitcase just losing their butt. Daily self-care. Andre and I in particular enjoy the Korean Imperial Spa, which has a Groupon available, by the way. Some long walks on the strip in the early morning when it's really quiet. Cooking a healthy breakfast is another big one. Checking out a museum, going to a concert, or finding some nature to explore. Having self-care will just help you be set up for success and hopefully prevent any kind of emotional meltdowns when things don't go your way. Finally, the 3 buy-in rule. When you are losing by 3 buy-ins, go have fun the rest of the day. You're not allowed to gamble the rest of the day, and you have to go to bed and wake up before you even think about gambling again. Some things that you can do to enjoy yourself and get your mind off of that bad beat. Go to the Gold Spike near Fremont Street. Walk down Fremont Street and look at all the craziness going on. Go play mini golf, have a nice dinner at Osaka Sushi or Jinx Ramen, or even go to a movie. P.S. The Gold Spike has some awesome drink specials and bullet bourbon, which is my favorite bourbon, but I often can't find it in Vegas at the casinos. So those are just some things that have helped me and Andre in the past and that we've learned over time. I'm sure you have some of your own tips to share, so please do share them in the comment section below. Have fun and good luck at the World Series. I will be seeing you next in Vegas for the start of the 2018 World Series of Poker.
This one right here is a whole lot of booty right here. Yes, shit. You feel me? Follow me on SoundCloud, Instagram, TroxyH. And let me know how y'all feel about these songs. Let's get it. Yeah. All right. people. We're celebrating cannabis. We're celebrating women and folks in the arts, giving you the underground